You know what I hear from all this?
What?
You used witch powers to make sure that nobody else was able to get through but you. Yes.
No! Hello, welcome to a very special edition of Guide to the Unknown. I'm Kristen.
And I'm her little brother, William.
And we have a different episode today. If you're watching on video, you may notice that we are in a car. If you're just listening, our audio might be slightly different because we're on location isn't quite accurate. We're on our way home from location.
Yeah, we went out into the world again.
Yes, we did. And we went to the same place in the world that we did the last time we went on location. We went to the Paranormal Books and Curiosities shop in Asbury Park, New Jersey.
Yeah, a while back, Kristen saw that they were going to be doing a séance there and got us tickets. We just went.
Yep.
We have now been to our first séance ever.
Yes.
And I think we had kind of an experience.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Some of the focus of talking to spirits was pointed at us.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, a decent chunk of it, I would say.
So I think we're going to talk about some of our experiences with this. Maybe our own individual points of view. We've also explicitly made sure not to talk to each other at all about what happened after leaving the table.
No, we did not rehash.
So we're going to kind of be rehashing this together for the first time on this episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm really curious to hear what Kristen has to say.
Curious to hear what William has to say.
But before we do all that, we want to remind all of you that if you enjoy Guide to the Unknown, please be sure to follow at GTTUpod on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram to stay tuned to our little world. You can also join our secret society by going to facebook.com/groups/GTTUpod. And if you had done that, then you would already know.
Yes.
If you don't already know, we're going to tell you right now. We have merch.
That's right. If you go to tpublic.com/user/GTTUpod, you will find all manner of merchandise with the Guide to the Unknown podcast logo on it. So we have t-shirts, we have hoodies, we have baby onesies, we have tote bags, coffee mugs, travel coffee mugs. We have pillows, we have pins. It's very, very cool. So if you go over there, you can get all kinds of merchandise.
Yeah, absolutely. We even just ordered some stuff ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
For the first time. It's going to be the first time that you can get Guide to the Unknown on your stuff. So go check that out, tpublic.com/user/GTTUpod. We really hope that you enjoy what's in there. A lot of you have asked us for merch.
Yep.
And consider this sort of like the greatness from humble beginnings. We want to fill that store with a bunch of like interesting stuff. To start, it's all the GTTU logo.
Yep.
Rep the club.
Rep the brand.
Rep the brand.
We already have a whole bunch of orders, which is really awesome.
Cool.
I'm so excited to see this stuff in the wild on people or in their homes or whatever. So get into it. We would love it if you loved it.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. And also go to patreon.com/GTTUpod. If you donate at the $4 or more per month tier, then you get a monthly bonus episode as well as little extras and stuff. For example, this episode we're about to tell you about, we've been keeping secret, but we went live in that Patreon or on Patreon on the way to the seance with me driving and William just talking and filming, telling everybody over there, hey, guess what? This is what we're doing, and some preliminary thoughts and like predictions.
So you get a little sneak peeky.
Yeah, exactly. So we do just stuff like that on top of the monthly bonus episodes. There are a whole bunch of posts. You can go cruise them if you go to patreon.com/GTTUpod and just kind of see what's going on over there and then decide to donate or not.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So let's get into it.
I think we should save our particular thing maybe for last.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
But without a doubt, like when we first got there, we talked about this a little bit, but like, did you have any sort of like feeling of what we were getting ourselves into? Because this is sort of an unusual position to be in. I think a lot of people, definitely most people, have never been to a seance.
Right.
So like, what was sort of in your head?
Yeah. I mean, we only talked about this on that Patreon live stream. I was expecting less action and talking. I thought there was going to be a lot of silence and maybe every once in a while something comes through and somebody grabs at something. I thought there was going to be a lot of quiet.
Right.
And then, to be totally honest, vagaries. I thought we were going to come away being like, okay, they said this, it could pertain to anything.
Yeah.
That some people be like, maybe that sounds like my peepaw, but like not sure.
Right.
I wasn't expecting a whole lot of action out of it.
Yeah.
I didn't really know what to expect because honestly, my point of view of seances, maybe it's because we do the show, I associate them so much now with like early spiritualism movement.
Exactly.
And I was like, what does a modern seance even look like? Like, there's not going to be ectoplasm. There are going to be trombones above our heads, which actually the facilitator of the seance, Kathy, referenced. And so I didn't really know what to expect going into it. But I would say that we got more happened than I expected.
Without a doubt.
What about you? What was your preconceived notion?
My preconceived notion was less about what is the seance going to be like and more about what is my mental state going to be. I think that I've like strongly professed myself on this very show to be a skeptic and kind of a vocal skeptic. Maybe also something of a I wish that I could believe.
Yeah.
And all this kind of stuff. But it certainly going into this, I felt like I needed to do my level best to open my mind and be ready to have an experience to let let
it come on through if it's there.
Exactly. If there's ever going to be an experience to talk to the other side, this is pretty much it.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like I'm not doing this all the time.
Yeah, it's the time.
So I wanted to not
do it all the time.
We could. Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
I didn't want to be cynical, so I was really focusing on like getting myself in check, honestly.
Yeah. How did you do that?
Well, for real, I did I really tried to follow the guidelines given by Kathy about the seance.
Yeah.
So we went in and we met with, there were probably, how many people besides us?
I think there were maybe 8.
Okay.
4, 2. Yeah, I think 8 or 9.
About 8 or 9 other people. So we were sort of, you end up sitting really close with all these strangers around this table.
Right.
And initially I was like, oh, I hope I don't have to hold hands.
Yeah.
With anybody. Ended up, we did have to hold hands.
Yes. I had forgotten that was an aspect until we were driving down. And I was like, oh, in seances, they hold hands around the table. And I was like, oh, man. But,
what are you going to do? It's
what
part
are you
of
going to do? Yeah.
But then part of the setup of the seance itself was, okay, so we all link hands around this table. There's one candle on the middle of the table.
Real quick, I kind of want to set the scene a little bit for people at home listening about what the whole deal is like.
Yeah.
So the Asbury Park Paranormal Books and Curiosities shop, you walk in and everything is nice wood. It is a bookshop, so there are books on both sides of you when you walk in. It feels kind of like an old shop. It's really, really cool looking. From the street, you can see the name of the shop and the logo, and you can see kind of purpley lights.
Yeah.
So it feels a little like a spooky shop. If you're walking around, you peg it as a cool spooky shop.
They even have 2 lanterns on the outside on either side of the front door. Almost literally you'd need to have a lamp lighter come by and douse the lamps at the end
physical
of the day or something
fire lanterns.
Yeah.
Right. So there are books about, hauntings, ghosts, mysticism, psychology, parapsychology, things like that. There are also gifts and art that are in that vein. There are some pendulums. So you're in an environment that feels like this is right. There should be a seance going on.
Absolutely.
And where it happens is upstairs. So they take you through and it's a small shop downstairs. They take you through the shop when it's ready, and you go up a staircase into another separate room that's also wooden. There's some cool artifacts on your way up the stairs in the hallway and then in the room that you're in. And there were heavy dark red curtains that Kathy, who owns the shop, and she called herself a facilitator of the seance, so I'll say that too, who facilitated it, she pulled those curtains to cover the things on the walls, including a cool kind of creepy painting of somebody. I think she said it was the blue lady or the blue woman or something.
I know, yeah.
So that it wouldn't be distracting.
A slight mention. She was like, we'll just cover the blue lady. I don't think we need her right now. And I was like,
I'd like to hear more about the blue lady.
Yeah.
But I thought it was cool that they have that in place to be non-distracting. Let's cover up all this stuff on the walls.
Yeah.
And then we were sitting around a table with a tablecloth on it with a candle in the middle. And then that brings us to where you were.
Yeah. So she has everybody link hands. and close our eyes. And then she sort of tries to like prime us to get ready for talking to the dead or the paranormal or the other side of the veil.
Well, also, and she had us not just like link hands willy-nilly. She had us do it in a specific way. It was
That's
that
right.
you have your left hand underneath on one side and your right hand over on the other side.
Right. So like my left hand was beneath the right hand of the guy sitting to
Right.
my left. And then my right hand was on top of Kristen's left hand.
Right. And
on the
then
other side.
my right hand was on top of the guy next to me's hand.
So the right hand is always on top. And she said, with your eyes closed, picture a beam of white light in your left hand. Then picture that going up to your elbow, up to your shoulder, then down into your chest before it continues to your right shoulder.
Your whole torso.
Your whole torso. Going down your right arm, down your right forearm, and then through your right hand into the person next to you.
Right.
And so bit by bit, that light is supposed to come back in from the left, go up your arms, down to your torso, out to the person on your right, faster
Right.
and faster, until we're all doing this in a circle. So you're supposed to imagine now this beam of light is linking us in a circle
Yeah.
and a circuit.
Right.
And right from there, I started to really deliberately, because I'm really bad at relaxing or getting out of my own head. I cannot like calm down. I cannot like meditate. It just like my mind goes a million places. So I started really getting annoyed at myself for not being able to picture a ball of light in my left hand. And it wasn't until I think Kathy at one point said like, let your shoulders slump. That I deliberately was like, oh yeah, I'm holding a lot of tension. I have like a lot of tension in my body. And this is something that also drives me insane about me. It's like I let my shoulders drop and then I was like, I don't think they're dropped all the way. It's like, I still think I'm holding tension. So I tried to let them drop further, which they did. And I was like, I still think I'm tense. Like it's for me, it's always like there are layers of trying to get relaxed.
For most people, that's the case.
Really? All right.
Yes.
It drives me insane.
Majority of people, that's the case.
I get very type A about wanting to be relaxed. Where I'm like,
That's super common.
I bet I could release the tension in my eyelids now.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
oh, my
yeah.
jaw is clenched. I bet I could relax my jaw, but my tongue's not relaxed. Like I go insane.
But if you think about it that way and just kind of like find a way to chill about it, then it could be like, okay, I have to relax my jaw.
No,
Okay,
there
now
is
I
no
relax
chill.
my tongue. Just boom, boom, boom. Anyway.
There is no chill, Kristen. But so bit by bit, I started to really get into the sort of like, okay, the beam of light comes in through my hand, up through my left arm, down to my torso, out through my right arm to you. And I started to deliberately breathe in and imagine the light shooting up my left arm.
Yeah.
And then I would kind of hold for a second while it's supposed to be in my torso,
Yeah.
just like the air is in my lungs as
Yeah.
I'm holding in this breath.
Yeah.
And then I'd exhale and picture the light moving down my right arm
That's
into
perfect.
you.
Yeah.
And so like I started to like get on rhythm. But then she started to say like, now that beam of light is moving faster.
So like,
Heave ho.
Yeah.
But no, I was really sort of getting into it.
Yeah.
Then she said, now picture, because we're sitting around this circular table, there's a candle in the middle of the table. She said, now picture that there's a beam of light in the middle of the table. And because she had already primed saying that we are all a circuit of our energy, I was like, yes, because we have formed
right. Like a little tornado.
Yeah. And so we're going to shoot this beam of light out.
Right.
She adds, now picture a door
Yes.
in the beam of light that is slightly ajar. You're going to push it open. I really worked like overtime to picture that beam of light, to picture a door. I was trying to figure out how all of us from 360 degrees can picture a door. I was like, oh, but maybe it defies.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
three
It doesn't matter. It
dimensions.
doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Somehow we're all seeing this door that
Yep.
is already slightly ajar because the worlds of the dead and the living are slightly connected.
I also, no, I don't get as hung up as it sounds like you do, but I also do get a little type A about like visualization stuff where I'm like, okay, am I visualizing this within me as I'm sitting here right now, or am I seeing myself and I see it going through me
Right.
as though I'm looking at myself or whatever. So I also got hung up on the door thing a little bit where I was like, okay, but like is the door in the center or like the the column of light is going up. Maybe the door is up above it, like a hatch.
Ooh, that's
more like
cool.
a hatch kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I pictured it like that for a while, and then I just brought it down to the center of it, and I was like, okay, it's there, because that's when she got to the part about the visualization of opening the door more. I was like, all right, that hatch doesn't work for that.
Yeah, you can't push the door up.
I brought it back down to the center.
Just nudge that door
Just
open
nudge it, yeah.
a little bit. I also liked everything that she was saying, quite frankly. Like,
Right.
You're less of a skeptic than me.
Yeah.
But do you even think that you are a skeptic at all?
I mean, kind of, because I feel like I don't just throw myself into believing all this stuff. Like, I would say I'm kind of skeptical. I'm open-minded, but I'm always looking for, sometimes even despite myself, always looking for the reason that it's not true.
Right.
Or just wanting to make sure I'm not just being totally carried away.
I almost think that's healthy, right?
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. So I don't know if it's necessarily skeptical or a skeptic, but I definitely am skeptical. That's my thought process is always, okay, but what about this is hinky?
Yeah.
Or like doesn't ring true for me or whatever. So anyway,
but
I don't
even
know.
like the way that like Kathy would explain things, she like fielded sort of like concerns from the group.
Yeah.
And so one person had concerns about like negative energy attaching itself to us, or it wasn't she brought up demons at some point. What was this person concerned about?
They were concerned about a spirit that might have trauma.
Yes.
And how that could impact, I guess, them.
Right.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm sitting there going like, I don't know that I believe in this at all.
Right.
So I don't know that's not even like a concern I actually have.
Yeah.
But Kathy's response I thought was like really sort of interesting. And she was like, listen, there are a lot of people who do and don't believe the stuff that I'm telling you. For people who are skeptical, all I ask is that you try to keep your mind open and don't just block everything, because that'll ruin it for everybody.
Yeah.
To which I'm also like, I'll be the best at not blocking.
Yeah.
the ghosts that I don't believe are here.
Well, apparently you did a good job.
I guess I did a good job.
Yeah.
So, but so she was like, I thought this was interesting. She was like, the worlds of like the dead and the living that's why the door is ajar, she says, because like there is sort of like this back and forth. But why would a spirit want to attach itself to you?
Yeah.
Like, we are so uninteresting to spirits.
Right. Yeah.
Spirits have a whole world of other stuff that they're interested in and can do and can focus on. Why would they effectively like dumb it down to just attach themselves to you and go home at the end of the day and watch some TV? Like, no, we're below their interest level. So don't worry about a spirit attaching itself to you. And she also was like, for people that are still worried, we're going to smudge you with sage at the end of this anyway. But I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And so like she handled everything in a way that like I felt like let me feel a little more at ease with my own skepticism.
Yeah.
And
I mean, little spoiler alert, I talked to her privately after it for just a couple of minutes, and she was like, I know it sounds funny, but I think of myself as a skeptic. I have a feeling she kind of thinks of things the same way I do, maybe.
Yeah.
Where she obviously maybe identifies as a skeptic, but like where she obviously believes this stuff, but casts a critical eye at it.
Right.
So I wonder if that aspect of her presentation and everything like resonated with you and made it kind of easier to
maybe
fall into it.
Maybe
you know?
it was very interesting.
Yeah.
But either way, like I really I think the foremost thing that I did was really try to be a participant.
Yeah.
You know? Even though we were, for the vast majority of the time, for like 80% of the time, we were just sitting there silently.
Yeah.
I kept, anytime that she'd be like, let's focus energy on what this person is trying to talk about, I would literally in my head be like, yeah, spirits, like, please come talk to us. There's nothing to be worried about. We're all friends. We're all friends here.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking that stuff
That's
alone
great.
in my own head, thinking there's probably nothing that this is doing.
But you know what? Like,
But what
why
if
not?
there is?
Why not do
And why
it?
not be a participant?
Totally.
If I'm putting myself in the situation to be here, what am I going to do? Be a grumpy old Gus?
Yeah, exactly. You're here already.
Yeah.
So why not?
Let's dance.
Yeah, let's dance.
Dance we shall. We danced the night away.
We did. So I think that when she was talking about the idea that spirits don't attach themselves to humans because it's like really not that interesting for them, you're right. She brought up demons and she basically said she doesn't really believe in them.
Yeah.
How did you feel about that?
I mean, I don't believe in demons.
That's true. Well, I do kind of believe in this stuff. And
Right.
I was like, I'm with you. I don't believe in demons either.
Oh, really?
No, I don't.
Despite
I don't.
believing in this stuff. How can there be any structure?
Yeah, it's hard for me to imagine a hierarchy
Yeah.
or whatever. I don't know.
How can we still exist after we're dead?
I don't know. I don't know. But it's just hard for me. I feel exactly I could have said what she was saying. I feel the same way, like that it just makes sense to me. I obviously don't know for a fact,
Right.
but that you're probably going to be what you were like as a living person, as a dead person. So like there are nice dead people and there are like jerk dead people and whatever.
Yeah.
It just doesn't, I don't know. I've just never, I hope I'm not inviting anything and somebody's gonna be like, oh, I'll show you. But I've never been afraid of like a demon or an an evil ghost. I just don't think it's a thing. I think there could be, crappy ghosts. But yeah, I'm not concerned about a demon attaching itself to me. So I just thought it was interesting she said that. I was like, you know what? I've always felt that way too. Even with all like the ghost shows that I watch where they're like, okay, this person is coming through, or like this thing is coming through, or a demon is attached. I'm like, maybe something's up there that's not good, but like I don't have any concern about a mega powerful entity that's a demon. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Pazuzu's not a threat.
No, I don't know why. I know that you could say that it's like a very ancient energy that's maybe more powerful for that, but for some reason I just don't. I don't feel that way.
What about the Enfield haunting where it was Bill Wilkins? Like, do you believe in a ghost like that?
Yeah, that's like.
That?
Well, the thing is, and this doesn't make it that much less scary. So, and again, all my feelings about this when I say I think this, I think that, they're like not fully baked and fully formed.
Sure,
but like I said, there could be nice ghosts who are nice when they were living, and maybe there can be like jerk ghosts who were jerks when they were living. I mean, I feel like it wouldn't be inconceivable for a jerk ghost to want to emulate demonic activity because they're going to mess with a human.
Yeah,
and
that's
be like,
interesting.
Look, I keep just saying jerks. I'm trying not to curse. I'm a jerk, and the jerkiest thing that I can do is like, I know humans are afraid of demons, so let me like really whoop it up in here.
I'll turn your crucifix upside down.
Yeah, and give them
not because I'm from hell, but because I know that's going to scare you.
Exactly. So I think that's not outside of the realm of possibility.
That's interesting. That's interesting, and not something that I've ever really seen depicted before. That's like an interesting angle on.
Yeah.
Like for me, honestly, like for me, all this stuff is about like personal curiosity, but also like sort of like research in a weird way. Like I haven't really taken anything Guide to the Unknown and written based off of it, but like it creates such fodder for stories in my head. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you just saying that of like a ghost who is not a demon but is pretending to be one is really, really fun.
Yeah, because it's buying into your fear. Like, all right, I'll give you a show then. You're afraid of demons? Like, I'm a jerk.
Right,
think of another word that's not jerk.
Ass.
Yeah, and I'm an ass.
I'm an ass.
So I'm going to play it up and pretend I'm a demon. I'm going to freak you right out. That's the most effective way for me to mess with you and freak you out, so I'm going to do it.
Yeah, I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Well, actually, so let's talk about a demon that I don't know if you went here. I certainly did after a certain period of time. So we're all sitting there, and Kathy has also invited us all to, like, if we have anything that pops into our head, if we see a vision or something that we want to call out, feel free to say, like, oh, this image popped into my head, share it with the group. And before I even knew it, we were in the midst of doing the medium stuff.
Yeah, right.
Because, like, I was sitting there trying to get my breathing under control, and Kathy almost, like, right away starts going, like, I'm getting a D name. I'm getting a name with a D.
Yeah.
Dan, David. Is there a David? Does anybody here have a David? I didn't think about this for a while, but Kathy even said, because nobody really responded to the name David, but Kathy said at a certain point, she was like, we've been getting a lot of David here.
Yeah.
Like, David keeps coming up here. And then, so later on, part of my private sort of like participation was whenever they were trying to get somebody's passed on relative to step forward and share something, I would start saying like, yeah, David will hold the door open for you.
Oh.
So like, David will keep the door open for you. You got nothing to worry about. Come talk to us, Patricia. Stuff like that. And then I started thinking, the ringmaster of all ringmasters. Because I started thinking of David, the way that she was talking about how he kept cropping up for them in the paranormal bookshop.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, maybe David is just kind of like around, like helping like be the gopher between the spirit world and the living world. Like maybe he's helping people communicate. Then I was thinking, like, you and I have talked a lot about Dear David and joked even about Dear David screwing up our electronics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But bit by bit over the course of the hour, as I kept saying, David will hold the door open for you, I started to think like, Yeah.
Do we have a David?
Do we have a David? What's David doing? We've talked about David a lot.
Yeah.
And I very quickly started going, David will let you through. And now I'm thinking like, why did I jump to David as the person that's holding the door?
That is kind of interesting.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
I started thinking about it. Again,
And that is
I don't believe in any of this, but I really enjoy it all.
And I think that what you're describing sounds like the way that like I understand it to be, that like channeling kind of happens and like getting those sorts of things, that it seems kind of natural, but then you're like, well, where did that come from though?
Right. I had a major question at the beginning when Kathy was just sort of like fielding questions from the group, because she had said the thing of like, if something pops into your head, feel free to tell it to everybody, because maybe you're seeing something that's not meant for you. Maybe you're seeing an image that's meant for somebody else that's sitting around the table. So please feel free to share it.
Right.
And I asked Kathy, how do you tell the difference between your own imagination and something that is intrusively coming to you from the other side? Yeah,
it was a good question.
And her answer I thought was really interesting, and it made a sort of intuitive sense, but it still is very wishy-washy.
Yeah.
Like it still is so subject to interpretation. There's no law that governs this. It was like, if something that pops into your head and you can sort of feel the rhythms of it, it's sticking in your head for a little longer than just some fleeting imagination.
Yeah.
What if scenario. She's like, if it sticks around in my head for long enough, I know it's something that's like worth talking about.
Right.
I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I never had anything like that. I tried to, again, the deliberateness with which I tried to keep my mind blank meant my mind was never blank.
Yeah, I know.
You know?
Yeah.
Like I was staring at like the swirling colors that happen when you just close your eyes and clench them and stuff.
Yeah.
But the David thing, it did occur to me at a certain point. I was like, in my head, I kept thinking about David.
Yeah, we do talk about David a lot. Right. Yeah. That's interesting.
Ringleader? Ringmaster? Who the hell's the ringmaster?
Yeah, when you said the ringmaster, I was like...
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell? I thought you were referencing like a movie or something. I was like, the Page Master? Is there
Master
a ringmaster? Yeah. So it's interesting you said that thing. So, okay, so two things. You working on the visualization and everything. And like, really paying attention to it and everything. I, was also doing the same thing. And I would periodically, during the whole thing, picture that circuit going again. I'd be like, all right, maybe it's a little stagnant. It's like, let's get this thing like moving again or whatever.
Me too.
And then in addition to picturing the column of white light in the middle of us going up, I, not replace it, but in addition to that, pictured one above me, like going through me.
Yeah.
Because I was like, all right, like we're here. Like maybe if you want to channel through me, then, then by all means, I'm open to it. And
maybe that made all the difference.
I don't know. It might have.
And you connected not only the circuit of all of us around the table to the great beyond, but you added an additional beam of light from you individually. And you are the only person around the table who offered to the group something that had popped into your head.
Right. And also, I got a message potentially for somebody else in my life.
That's right. I don't even know how to handle that.
I'm not really sure either. And then the other thing,
we could call him and see if we can talk to him on this. It is late.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing that I did, and I hope this isn't magically uncool. I don't know if this is something that I should have not done, but I feel like it's okay. I mentally cast a circle around all of us.
What?
To try to like keep our energy kind of contained so that it could be more concentrated.
You know what I hear from all this?
What?
You used witch powers to make sure that nobody else was able to get through but you. Yes.
No.
Yes, you connected yourself
with
a beam of light to the spirit world, and you put a bubble around the group as a whole.
The entire group, including me. I was like, I want all of our energy. I want this circuit. I don't want it dissipating and just going away. I want there to be a slight bubble barrier that's keeping our energy concentrated so we can get all the best results. That's what I did.
How do you know it was not an impenetrable bubble?
Because I didn't want it to be.
There were some people around the table who I don't think had an experience like us.
Because I don't want it to be an impenetrable bubble, and it's all your intention and your mind.
But what's to stop? If that's the rule,
I know.
I'm not saying I don't like it, but what's to stop you from just coming up with anything? You know what I mean?
What do you mean?
Like a bubble will occur that only lets good stuff in.
Yes.
No bad stuff.
That's a thing.
That's in and of itself. That's like
Yeah, like a protective bubble.
Why doesn't it need something more?
It's
doesn't
whatever
need more
you want
heft
it.
behind it.
No.
It doesn't need more technical know-how.
No.
That's like just being like, I want to fix my car. It is fixed.
No, it's not, because you don't know. Because it's all wishy-washy. I don't know if me casting a circle around us did anything. I don't know. I'm not saying it did. It's all about your intention, and I don't know if it works.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? We're doing all this stuff. We're visualizing. We're trying to get some energy going here. Why don't
I block that?
Why? No.
Why don't I put a barrier
How
up
is
there?
it blocking it?
You're a blocker.
That is not. No.
You're a blocker.
No, I was not blocking it. I was trying to make sure it didn't just like steam, dissipate, and go away. I wanted all that good juice in there with us.
I saw a spirit, and then it just turned into sprinkles and floated away. Well, all I know
Well,
is
anyway,
that
that's what I did.
I think the act of you connecting an individual beam of light from yourself to the great beyond, that may have done something.
Maybe. I don't know.
Do you want to talk about that?
Sure.
It's a little out of sequence, but
Yeah. So, I mean, should I not say the thing about? I shouldn't. I don't think
about
our friend.
your friend.
So, okay, in vague terms,
Right.
Kathy said, she said a name.
It was very on the nose.
It was very on the nose. She was like, let's say the name is Jerry.
Yeah.
She's like, does anybody have a Jerry? And she's
Tell
like,
Jerry hello.
living or Jerry, hello.
Now, this Jerry, does he have, there's somebody in his life with an L, like a Larry, Leonard, maybe a Leonard, Leopold, Leo?
I'm getting a Leo.
Maybe a Leo.
He says hello.
Says hello.
Now I'm seeing knuckles that have
Say.
HELLO.
Oh my God.
They're grabbing a pull-up bar.
Now, he looks a little angry. He looks angry. His eyebrows are raised. He looks kind of like a seal. Does everybody know what we're talking about? There's a very
if you do,
select crew of you that might get all these references.
I think
it was
probably.
gigantic, but it was also 20 years ago.
Yes.
So I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's say she was like, does anybody have a Jerry? And then she said, this Jerry could be living. And then Will said, but I also was like, yeah, I do have a Jerry.
You weren't speaking up fast enough.
Well, because
You've got a good friend named Jerry who you talk about not infrequently.
Yes.
And you hadn't said anything yet. And she was like, is there a Jerry in your life? He might still be alive. And I waited. It was like beat. And I went,
no.
you do?
It was like one beat. I don't know. My mind moves a little slow sometimes. You know that. Sometimes I take a couple minutes to answer something.
I thought maybe you were blown away, but I wanted to make sure that the moment didn't pass
No,
by.
I was a little bit like, my computer was kind of, I was like,
Well, that's what I'm saying. I just
Yeah.
want to make sure that we didn't lose.
yes. I was about to say something though anyway. But anyway, so I was like, yeah, I do. And like I said, I want to be able to talk to Jerry first.
We might get
seriously
into this
just
with
left
more
this.
detail someday in the
we
future.
might,
but
because
yeah.
I think Jerry would be open to talk about this.
Yeah.
But she told me some things that were like dead on about Jerry, and some things that she would have no way of knowing. It
Yeah.
was like really kind of specific.
Jerry's had something big happen to them recently.
Yes.
Jerry's grandfather is named, well, why don't we just stick with this?
Yeah.
Jerry's uncle is named Leo. And the answer was yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't know about the name.
Oh, really?
I
Oh,
said
okay.
no.
I thought the
That I
name.
don't know.
Okay,
no,
fair enough.
That I don't know. But it could be. I have no idea. But no, it was pretty crazy. She said something that was like very specific
Yeah.
and very niche.
Yeah.
Like, how would you know this? And it was yes. Oh my God, that's
Yeah,
so weird. You
totally.
said that. So that was interesting. That happened perhaps because of my personal beam of light. And then the other thing was that, as Will said, she said if anybody has anything come to them, like, images, words, or whatever, if you're not feeling shy, just say it out loud because it could pertain to somebody in the group. And at one point, she was like reading somebody, and I don't even know how to describe it. Like, I had the thought of little red shoes come into my head.
Little red shoes.
Red shoes, but I was picturing little red shoes. Like a
How little?
small, I don't know.
How little are we talking here?
No.
Like a thimble? That little?
Thimble.
Like for a mouse?
No, like a little. May as well be. I'll tell you in a second. I'll tell you what the thing is.
Oh.
I had a pair of red shoes kind of I had like little kind of like leather red shoes with little like very skinny, almost like, I don't know what you call them, but with little skinny red laces, just a totally red shoe.
Oh.
And so I waited until she was done saying whatever. And then I was like, I don't know if this means anything, but I had the thought of red shoes. And then she was like, does that resonate for anybody? Nobody said anything. And she was like, okay, it might be something with me or whatever she said. And she was like, let's talk after.
She didn't say that. What she said, which I thought was interesting, was she goes like, does that resonate with anybody around the table? No. And then she starts to go like, because that
yeah.
Why don't we talk after?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this resonated for her.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really interesting. There were a few moments where she told people to talk to her after the session, either because she felt like information she wanted to say that was being shared with her from possibly the great beyond was like sensitive or something like that. But yours was because you had supplied. You had brought something juicy to the group.
I got high on my own supply and I spewed it out in the form of red shoes.
You did. You were
I felt like
spitting
she was very generous with her time. I thought it was nice that she told people that they could talk to her after.
Yes, I agree.
About things that she didn't want to say like in front of everybody.
I thought she was great.
I thought she was great too.
I really, especially for like having gone in being like, my arms weren't folded again. Like they
literally were.
They literally were. Yeah. Like I was really prepared to be underwhelmed. Because this could have amounted to, we could have had nothing to talk about.
I mean, as I said on the
and we're trying to do a show too, right?
I kind of was expecting underwhelm, and I was okay with underwhelm. I was like, the whole thing is such an interesting, weird thing to do.
Yeah.
I was fine with underwhelm, but I did not leave with underwhelm.
No, me either. But so like, I really did think that she was really great. It was like a very comfy vibe to everything that happened.
It was comfortable.
Yeah.
She did a good job kind of like painting that.
Yeah.
So anyway, so when it was over and she, I went to talk to her, she told me that they've been getting, they always get donations of like haunted artifacts and things like that.
Yeah.
And she was like, it's so weird. Like in the last like 10 weeks, we've gotten more like donations than we have in 5 years. And she said something that I think she said she just got recently was they got sent a doll. But the weird thing about it was that the note said the doll isn't haunted, its red shoes are.
What? Ooh. Ooh. Ooh, I like that.
I know. And I was like, okay. And she's like, so I kind of take that as maybe some like affirmation that it's something like worth looking into.
I like that.
I was like, okay, good. Like, take it. I don't know.
That's pretty cool.
And then I don't know if you noticed when we came out from talking, she kind of took everybody who she was going to talk to into like a little like almost like a little office alcove-y thing that was like a little bit separate. There was a little pair of like very small or doll shoes that was actually in the room that we were in because there's just like some stuff around.
Yeah.
And she was like, they're kind of like this. And I was like, kind of, it wasn't like dead on, but I was like, yeah, I was picturing kind of like old, like leather shoes with like very tight little not leather laces, but little laces. And I was like, yeah, I mean, ballpark of kind of the thing I was picturing. So
see, even that is interesting because that, and I believe you entirely. But that's the kind of thing that like is so interesting in this because Kathy or anybody could throw out like, yeah, I'm getting a name that's kind of like a D, and then somebody would go like, Doug, and she'd be like, yeah, it's kind of like a Doug. And now in the skeptic's mind, you start going like,
well,
she was fishing for a letter, and then you supplied a name with that letter, so she's pouncing on it.
Right.
But like, that's also how it would be if it were real anyway. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of frustrating that you don't know.
I hung out with Bethany from the podcast and Acquire Taste last week. We had a great time. It was our first time meeting, and we were talking about this stuff to a degree. And I think I don't want to speak for her, but I think she feels similarly to me, where she, kind of believes in things, but isn't just blindly like,
right.
Yep. And again, I don't think there are many people I don't think I'm unique in that. I think most people think critically about it.
I'm also the guy that believes that wizards give me ideas.
Right. Like everybody has stuff. And so we were talking about the fact.
I commune with the wizards.
Yeah.
Willie and the Wizzies.
Yeah, Willie and the
my
Wizzies.
New show coming out soon. Wee Willie Wizzy. Look for that.
We were talking for a minute about psychics specifically and how, like, essentially what you just said, like, with all this stuff, you're right. There could be an argument for that could be unproven, but also an argument against that seems so specific. So, like, yeah, it could be casting out for a Doug. And you're like, oh, she's looking for that name. But what if there really was a Doug talking to her, but just looks kind of like BS?
Exactly.
And we were saying that there are some psychics who maybe, like, let's say it's a psychic who has been caught in some sort of gotcha moment at some point where people caught them, let's say, mining for information or whatever. But And that's not cool, obviously. But we were talking about the fact how that doesn't necessarily cancel out the fact that maybe they are psychic, but maybe they can't turn it on and off like a faucet. And so they decided to supplement with some BS.
Right.
But maybe they're still real.
They were
and
juicing.
You just can't know.
They're an athlete,
yeah.
but they're juicing.
Yeah, with all this stuff, like even the thing I was talking about, like me casting a circle with my mind. You're like, well, it could be anything. Yeah, it could be anything, and maybe it works and it's anything. But maybe it's BS and it doesn't work because it could be anything.
There's
all of this is so amorphous. I
agree,
and it's really just I think for whatever reason clicks with you.
I agree.
Or it doesn't. That's fine too.
There's a wonderful episode of Conan O'Brien's podcast called Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend. Amazing. One of my favorite podcasts.
Me too. That's like an instant good mood.
Wonderful.
Show.
Conan O'Brien, son of Obsessian, his assistant, who is also on the show.
Yeah, a lot.
Insanely funny.
She's so funny.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So he did an episode where he spoke with Stephen Colbert. And they get into a whole jag where they're kind of talking about like magical realism and willing things into existence. And it felt, not that I've never heard other people say stuff like this, because certainly you have, but like it was so sort of affirming to hear successful people get so frustrated and annoyed with the fact that like, listen, I'm not trying to toot my own horn. The level to which I've gotten to write and perform in like fictional material, like professional stuff, like I got to go out to like Hollywood and work on shows. That's insane.
Yeah.
And it's something that I always wanted but never thought I would ever get. But I just kind of kept working and willing it to happen and like get on that trajectory. And it happened. Like I can tell people that I'm a professional writer. Yeah. And it's like I feel like to a certain extent, I got really, really fortunate, which is true. I also feel like I worked my ass off a lot, which I think is also true. And I also kind of think that like I've just sort of like willed this stuff to like happen to a certain extent. I just like never really stopped. And like it's so sort of embarrassing to admit that as well. But like hearing Conan O'Brien and Stephen Colbert talk about that with each other. And like at one point, I think Stephen Colbert, or I think maybe Conan starts to go like, here's the crazy thing about thinking stuff like that. Yeah. And Colbert goes,
one of them
works.
finishes the sentence.
And he goes, that's right. It works.
Right.
It's like more frustrating than anything else is the fact that like belief can actually get you through. Yeah. And I do unfortunately have to say that I believe pixies and wizards give me good ideas for shows and stuff. Right. Hollywood, reach out.
What Will is referring to, if you haven't talked about this before.
I said this once on the show, and then I've only ever referred to it ever since as
We've
wizards.
Talked about it a couple of times.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. There's a book called Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, and I told Will about one of the things in the book, which is the idea that ideas, like creative ideas, are somehow sentient and that they travel. Right. So sometimes an idea will come to you. It's an idea that wants to be expressed. And if you don't hurry up and express it, it's going to move on and it'll go to somebody else and they'll express it.
So you
or
better
for
pounce
some
on
reason, it might come to you and you're not the right person to put it out there or something. So then it travels to the next person.
And she told me this after I had already had an extensive history.
Yes.
I've been writing and developing shows since I was like 17. And there are at least 3 examples. 3? Maybe more.
Probably.
At least 3 examples of me working on a show that then is later announced and being made by like
I can vouch.
Industry people that are like way outside my reach.
Yeah.
Like the most hilarious it ever got to was that Bobby, our little brother of the show, Bobby and I suggested to him, why don't we write a procedural inspired by Silence of the Lambs? Because from Red Dragon to Silence of the Lambs, it's very like villain of the week almost. And we had one, quote unquote meeting where we sat at a Starbucks for 8 hours, where we talked about what this storyline would be and where would it go. And then I think I saw it and sent it to you almost immediately. That the show Hannibal had just been announced after like, mind you, this is after like years of that franchise being dormant.
Yeah, totally.
And it was so like, oh, the thing, it got in my ear, but it also got into a while ago. It got into somebody else's ear who actually had the means to push the like green light button. Right. And it's so affirming and also frustrating. And that's happened to me like a bunch of times. And I feel a little silly, like the fact that I actually believe that is like kind of stupid.
Well, the thing is,
But,
experience leads to belief. It doesn't have to be the only thing that leads to belief, but it does.
Yeah.
And you've experienced that.
Yeah,
so,
I guess so.
Yeah.
So the red shoes. Continue with the red shoes.
Okay, so I mean that's pretty much it. I mean she was like, we got this doll. It was wearing red shoes. The note said the doll isn't haunted, but the red shoes are. And I was like, oh. And she's like, so I kind of take that as like maybe a little validation. Maybe we should look into this a little bit more. And she was like, if you guys would want to investigate the doll with us, then maybe we should talk.
Okay.
I said, let's talk.
Okay. I'm in.
Let's talk,
I'm
babe.
in. Kristen had hinted to me that there was something that we might want to pursue from this, but didn't tell me what.
Right.
You're right. I do want to pursue that.
Yeah, right?
I would like to do that. Why not? Why the hell not?
Exactly. So maybe we should move on to
The big matzo ball?
Yes, I think so.
The big matzo ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want you to lead the matzo ball.
Lead the matzo ball?
I've
Really?
told my matzo ball stories about this before.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. So I'm very curious to see, because we might be able to, there's a possibility that we'll get our hands on the audio from tonight.
Yeah, right.
Kathy had a recorder running the entire time.
Yeah.
It's
so that people
questionable.
didn't feel pressure to have to remember every little thing and they
Right.
could hear their kind of like sessions and stuff later.
So it's possible that we'll get our hands on it, and it's possible that we'll be able to share it online.
Right. Share our section of it.
Share our section. Right, correct. We don't want to share other people's experiences.
Because other cool things happen during this, but we're only talking about the things that happen to us.
Yes. So to that end, I think that it's really funny that we can share our experience of the personal story that happened to us there. And maybe it'll differ completely from what's on the tape.
Yeah, I know, because memory is such a weird thing.
And to start off the sort of divergent path of how did this really come together, I think that this started because Kathy asked me, and she knew us.
Yeah.
She had familiarity with us and with Guide to the Unknown a little bit, but not enough, by the way, for this to be like.
No. We've met her once before,
Right.
And we follow each other online.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's
so
it.
she turned to me and she said, Will, does anybody ever call you Bill? And instantly, now again, Bill is a very common nickname for William.
Yeah.
Very, very common. But also, my dad used to call me Bill, and it used to annoy the hell out of me.
It was like a thing.
It was like
it wasn't just.
It was like a joke.
Yeah, it was a thing.
It was a joke that I would have to constantly say to our dad, like, call me Will.
Yeah.
I am not Bill.
Yeah.
And evidently, when I'm the youngest of four, all girls until it's me, Dad, I think, had this notion that I was going to be Bill, you know, and like that we would watch sports together and stuff.
Yeah.
Sadly for him, that was not to be. But so it was a joke that I would go like, Dad, stop calling me Bill.
It's Will.
Laugh track.
Yeah.
And so then it kicks off this whole thing. She goes, was your father Bill as well? I said, no. She goes, did he have a nickname that was kind of like Bill? To which I said no, but you started to say yes, because you're kind of right.
Yeah, kind of. Like, his name was Richard, but everybody called him Dick.
So
it's not
sort
like
of
Bill as in it sounds like Bill, but I was thinking it's another, like, quick one-syllable.
Potentially a stretch.
Yes.
Which I'll admit.
No, certainly potentially a stretch, but I was like, yeah, but the answer is kind of yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then here we go. Then let's just move. So, spoiler alert, Kristen and I, if you don't know us or, like, know our history, like, we've had, like, everybody's got their trauma.
Yeah.
We've got some trauma, too.
Yeah.
So brace yourselves. So way back in 2016, our father had something of, like, a heart attack, some sort of a health scare that turned out to have been type 2 diabetes. And then he essentially kicked off months of him being in the hospital, leading to his death. Kathy,
That was actually way before that. I don't think he even
That was
had
in
diabetes
April.
when he went to the hospital.
Oh, but I thought that the diabetes was because, or the reason he was initially put in the hospital was a complication because of diabetes.
I guess maybe you're right. And then when he was in the hospital, he didn't have it anymore.
Something like that.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
So, Kathy starts to talk about the fact that at the end of his life, he had kind of wasted away, dramatically lost a bunch of weight real fast, leading to his death, which, again, is something that happens to a lot of people at their end of their lives.
Right.
But not everybody.
Right.
She could have immediately pounced on, like, his death was all of a sudden. It came out of nowhere. And that would not have been true.
Right.
But she said, no, like, it was like kind of like a long thing, but also kind of sudden.
Yeah. Which is... Yeah.
Which you could also argue is hedging your bets.
Of course.
But that is how it felt.
Yes,
because
definitely.
at the beginning of 2016... our father was never the portrait of health.
Yeah, I don't think you would mind us saying.
Yeah, when he was a younger man, he was. But like for the time that we knew him, like, no.
Yeah.
But so like at the beginning of the year, Dad was in the shape that Dad was always in to a certain extent.
To a certain extent.
He was getting older.
Yeah, right.
But like to a certain extent, there was nothing to immediately be pouncing on.
No.
And then within months, it was like, oh, we're at the end.
April.
Yeah. So yeah, it happened all of a sudden, but it happened really slow at the same time. And one thing she said that I really connected to was she was like, yeah, he's here, but he doesn't really want to take up anyone's time. He's like standing in the doorway, but he doesn't want to like be here for too long.
Okay. I have something to say about that.
You do?
Yes. So I know I've told the story of me going to a medium a week after Dad died on the show before. I'm sorry I don't know where it is, and I don't want to rehash the whole thing just because whatever.
Sure.
But that time, I all day was like, Dad, I want you to come through. I want you to come through. I want you to muscle your way in there. I want to hear from you. If you can, please try to come through or whatever. So I did that again today, but I was a little bit different. I was like, Dad, I really want you to come through. I really want you to come through. Like, again, just like last time, you kind of push your way through. But now I've had a couple of times of communicating with you. And so the first time I was like, I want you to hog the limelight. Like I told my friend Dave, I was a psychic hog. I want you to hog it. This time I was like, you don't need to hog it. But like, I want you to come through. I don't want to be selfish and take time from everybody else. So when she said that, again, it wasn't like a hit, but I was like, that kind of resonates for me because I was like, Dad, come through, but also let people get their time.
That's the mindset you're in?
Yeah.
So me too.
Mm-hmm.
So here's how I've been thinking.
Yeah.
I've mentioned on the show before, so same year, 2016, our oldest sister, Karen, is killed by a drunk driver. Mm-hmm. It's 2 months later that our father dies.
Yeah.
I have been thinking all this time that if I go to a psychic, which I have now, or if you and I go to a medium or a seance or something, shouldn't we be like glowing?
Yeah, right.
You know, like
radioactive.
Yeah, exactly. And I've been very, as anybody is, because again, we're not the only people to experience horrible loss of a family member. Mm-hmm. The sort of like hard ways of coping with someone's death. Mm-hmm. 5 stages of grief, spiritualism, whatever. It's really hard to come to terms with something like this happening. And I've mentioned on the show before that like I would be walking Molly at like 2 a.m. and all of a sudden have a very vulnerable feeling and just kind of be like, hey, Karen, hey, Dad, like verbally out loud, and then kind of chastise myself like I'm a crazy person for wanting to do that.
Yeah.
As we got to the seance, I had the very unmistakable, distinct feeling that I'm okay with like all of this. Mm-hmm. I would prefer for Karen not to have been killed by a drunk driver, obviously. I feel horrible for the ways that it's impacted everybody's lives that knew her and the other members of our family and everything. But personally, for me, I'm like, the past is the past. I can't change it. Mm-hmm. Karen and Dad were wonderful people. Mm-hmm. If there's an afterlife, there's a very good chance they're together. Yeah. And that is wonderful. Yeah. And that is what I want for them right now, for them to be comfortable together. Mm-hmm. And if they can come back and talk to us, cool. But I don't even necessarily believe that's a thing. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's almost comforting to think that there's nothing after death. Mm-hmm. And it's just that, we return back to like
the soil.
The soil. Mm-hmm. Yeah, kind of that like nature self-perpetuates. Mm-hmm. And we got to be part of it for a while, but now we will breed new life from who we were and like our physical being and everything.
I think it's both.
I almost like that we disappear. Mm-hmm. That it's just like, do what you do. Yeah. And then you're done. I like that. I don't find that to be hollow. I find that to be satisfying. Mm-hmm. Your job is done. So as I'm thinking about, oh my God, is this person going to try to talk to us like it's Dad or Karen? I had this real thought in my head of like, I will be very fine if nobody, quote unquote, steps forward. Yeah. I'll be very comfortable because in my head, they couldn't be better now.
Right.
Like, they're both in good shape. Neither of them has anything to worry about whatsoever. I love them. I miss them. It's all good, though.
Yeah.
It's all good. We all end up missing each other at some point. It's part of it.
Yeah.
I'm fine if nothing of this ever, like, doesn't come up during the seance.
Yeah.
And then when she was talking about Dad.
I also felt that way going in. I was like, if nothing happens, that doesn't, like, shake my belief in it or anything. It's just like, it just didn't happen this time.
But I
just like everything.
I felt so, like, chill about it, though.
Yeah.
Like, no anxiety or fear or hesitation.
No, me neither.
Or gross out. Like, I always thought that, like, a medium, I'd be like, oh, this feels really exploitative or something.
Yeah.
But, like, I just really had the feeling of, like, you know what? They're good.
Yeah.
Dad's fine.
No, I feel that way, too.
And so when she was like, he's here, but he's not here, and he doesn't really want to take up time, I was like, if that's very close to, like, my interpretation coming in here.
Yeah.
And, like, I really had a moment, because, again, I was trying to be very participatory. I was like, Dad, it's all good.
Yeah.
Like, don't worry about telling us too much crap.
Yeah.
Say what you got to do. Feel what, like, you got to do whatever you got to do to prove that you're here, if that's what you're trying to do, and then I'll see you later.
Yeah, totally.
Like, it's all good. Go hang out.
Yeah. You know, so I've said things that I feel embarrassed saying a little bit in this about me.
Me too.
About me casting a circle with my mind.
This is like
about
vulnerable.
This is a very vulnerable.
And a seance, if you're going to do a seance, it's kind of a personal thing.
Yeah.
So honestly, like, yeah, like, this is, it's muddy. It's tricky, right? Like, we're saying things that we believe, but we're not sure how far we believe them.
Yeah.
Some of them are just, like, emotional reflexes. It's tricky, but, like, I believe all the stuff I'm saying, even when I'm contradicting myself.
I know. It's all very contradictory. But so something that I do in just not every single day life, but, like, I think it also adds to my comfort coming into this and be like, all right, something will happen, something won't. It doesn't really change anything or whatever. Is that, like, I talk to, like, Dad in particular, but, like, Karen also, like, a lot.
Yeah.
Like, even like out loud sometimes. And, like, so similar to, like, us talking about in the beginning how probably people are the way they were in life, in death or whatever. Like, as like silly or corny as it is, like, I think they probably have the same interests on the other side. So I'll be like, Dad, I'm watching Hobbs and Shaw. You would have loved Hobbs and Shaw. I hope you're hanging out with me now.
If only my dad could have seen Hobbs and Shaw. If only.
I don't remember specifically that I did this during that, but it seems like I would have. But I do during movies a lot, like to Dad and Karen for some reason, because they both like mysteries like we do. So I'll be
love like action, like Karen and Lynn still does it, but like
totally.
Karen and Lynn would come over with a bunch of bootleg movies from New York and stuff.
Yeah, totally.
And then Dad would want to watch them. Like,
so
we're gonna watch Wedding Crashers with like Spanish subtitles right now. All right.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's movie centric, but it's not the only thing. That's what I'm thinking of. I really will be like, guys, like, if you want to hang out, I'm watching a movie. If you want to like hang out and watch a movie with me, like, that's great. I love that.
I like it.
So I feel like I still do have, it's so corny, it's what everybody says, like, just a little bit of a relationship with them. So even like, I can't think of an example, but let's say I had something I was trying to do at home, some sort of home project that Karen would be good at or whatever. I'll be like, Karen, if you give me a little guidance on this, like, I don't think she's going to say, okay, Chris, you do this, but I hope that there's somehow she's going to give me a little brainstorm. She's going to somehow make me turn this way. And I'm like, oh, right, I'll use that for it.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah.
I get that, and I kind of like it. So to your point about people in death are probably the same as they are in life.
Yeah.
Kathy starts to say that possibly our father is kind of like, what are you guys doing here? Like, she specifically said that, like, his energy right now is that he's, like, laughing at us for being at a seance.
Yes.
Which instantly made me think of Dad quietly just doing that.
Yeah,
he used to do a real dramatic eye roll.
Yeah.
When he thought you were being a complete idiot or you were just going on and on and on, stuff like that. And I was like, that seems like Richard Rogers.
Yes. What she was saying, I know, it's like that's the energy he would bring to this kind of thing. Like, you guys are stupid.
And it's also awesome that like a ghost would be like, you believe in all this crap? And it's a ghost saying it to you.
I know.
Like, and I was like, that resonated. I was like, that feels like that guy.
Yes.
And then she said that the one thing that he misses.
Oh my God, I know this was like to me.
Really?
Yeah.
I had a little bit of it, but I thought of it less as like something that he's like pained by and more of just sort of like,
Oh,
it
no,
was
not-
great.
no,
You know
no,
what?
no.
That was great.
No, when I say that was, I mean that like resonated for
It
me.
was-
I was like, oh man, that
Yeah.
would be.
It was that he misses like everybody sitting around talking, and that like he wouldn't even have to be part of it. He would just have to listen to everyone
Totally.
talking.
She specifically said that, and I was like,
And he used to. He not only was he a really funny person to like talk to in and of himself.
Yeah.
He would also like kind of fade into the background and just
totally.
observe everything going on around him.
yeah, and just
And then
he,
inevitably
like,
chime
listened to us
up and-
talk and laugh with each other and stuff.
Yeah, and then he'd pipe up and go like, "I think you're all nuts."
Yeah.
Like say like little one-liners to cap the conversation.
Yeah.
And frequently talk about his 4 kids and be like,
Yes.
I just like seeing the 4 of you
Yes.
interact. And so like a depiction
Yeah.
of possibly the spirit of our father missing having everyone around talking is like, that's also very, like, think about and again, I'm firmly aware, and I almost think it's not worth me even prefacing anymore,
I
because I
know.
think it's abundantly clear how I think about every angle of this and the multitude of ways it could not be true. But like, think of anything that she could have said about
I know.
somebody's passed on father and the way that they would have interacted. Like
Yeah.
she could have been like, yeah, he was like a very stern figure. And
Right.
we'd say no.
Yeah.
You know, like there are any number of things you'd say no about, but the things she said were all like pretty damn correct.
I know.
She then said, and this is stupid. She goes like, there's somebody around him with an H name.
Oh my God, this was ridiculous.
This was so stupid. This was so stupid, but it was the first thing I thought of. The first thing I thought of, because there's nobody.
No.
The short answer is there's nobody. Was that we used to make fun.
He like worked with somebody or something.
He had awesome stories. Our dad had awesome stories.
Yeah.
And so he told a story about working with somebody, and the point wasn't what her name was, but he'd be like, so I was working with her. And we'd be like, sorry, who?
Well, it was kind of her name. I mean, that was a crazy name.
It was a crazy name, but he was also like telling something
Yes,
else,
it was-
and she just
it was
happened to
kind
be
of
part of the
incidental.
story.
Yeah.
And we would pounce all over the name. So we were trying to figure it out. This H name is definitely an H name he used to say.
Yeah.
And then I started to say like powder mocker or something. And we all started laughing, and like everyone around the table was like, what the hell?
Yeah, they
are
must have been
talking
like,
about?
what?
Because Kristen and I just started cracking up together, the two of us. I'm like, wasn't it powder mocker? Like
Yeah.
Harriet powder mocker?
It-
And it was like 30 seconds later that Kristen caught it.
Yeah, it's Hortense Powder Maker.
Hortense Powder Maker is a name that used to come up a lot around
Yes.
Richard Rogers.
Yes.
And so we were cracking up because we were like, yeah, it's Hortense Powder
Hortense
Maker. This
Powder Maker.
insane name of a person that our dad knew decades ago,
Yeah.
by the way, like before we were born.
Yeah.
And, but then Kathy, like, again, this could also be like really good yes-anding. This could be really good improv. But she was like, well, I'll tell you what, like, did she say that like she has a word with her, a family member of hers that like will be like a key to say like it's really me from the great beyond?
I don't remember how she phrased it, but she was like, well, that's like a sign or that's a something. I don't
That's
know how
something
she
that
phrased
only
it.
you would know.
Yeah, right.
And something that only he would know.
So
now, granted,
now
she said
whenever-
H name, and we came up with Hortense Powder Maker. So
fair.
it's mostly on us. If here's what's happening. If Kathy had said, "Who's Hortense Powder Maker?"
I would have.
I would have exploded. I would have died. I don't think we've mentioned Hortense Powder Maker on a show.
no,
There's
I
no
don't
way.
think so.
Why would we have? So it's like she couldn't have like slyly listened to our stuff to come up with it to
Hortense
get us
Powder
now.
Maker.
She didn't even know we were coming tonight.
No.
But if she had come out with Hortense Powder
Yeah, we
Maker,
can't. She's like, oh, it's you guys.
oh my God, I would
Yeah.
immediately be the biggest believer in everything.
I would lose it.
I would believe in everything starting now.
Well, William, remember that weird, oops, shouldn't say that, but that tarot lady who I went to in Connecticut, and she said Richard Robert.
Yeah. That's pretty crazy.
Come on.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. That's probably also why Dad was like rolling his eyes, like, what are you doing here? He's probably like, Kristen.
I already talked to you.
Yeah, you keep doing this.
Hey, could you leave me alone?
I'm trying to enjoy my retirement.
I'm trying to get Netflix on this
Oh my God.
this like tablet I got
No,
from QVC.
that would be Dad's hell. Is that no? Dad's not trying to figure out Netflix because that's not right for him. That's not heaven to him.
That's
He's-
mostly if I go to
he's-
hell.
Yeah, he's losing his passwords.
If I go to hell, Dad's asking me to fix his passwords and rewire his sound system.
Yeah, right.
That's what's
right.
going on
No,
for
that's
me.
so. Actually, maybe that's his heaven.
in his heaven.
Yeah.
Every tablet he buys works.
Yeah.
And it was a great deal.
Yeah, absolutely. All like 8 of them for no
All
reason.
8 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, from there, I don't think there was anything else that was like really for us.
Well, with Dad's
Because we started to pivot away. She started to say, who is Kelly or something like that?
Kim.
Kim. Who is Kim?
Yeah.
And then we started to be like Karen because of
Yeah,
K
because
name.
K. Yeah, and
But
she was
then
like,
she was like, no, it's a 1-syllable short name, Kip
right.
Ned.
Yep.
And so then it sort of like started to move away from us.
Right.
But then I started to think our mom, Kathy, who would be Kath. And then she started talking about how that person's mother's name is maybe like a Maggie or a Margaret. And I was like, our grandmother's name was Marjorie.
You know, I didn't.
And the K short name was Kath.
I didn't think of that. The K short name being Kath.
But it had moved away from us, and so other people
Right.
started having experiences.
Right.
But I was sort of thinking, like, I wonder if in the spirit world, Dad is like, you idiots.
Yeah, I tried.
I was trying.
Yeah.
You didn't get it. You know?
There were other things about Dad that she hit on that, again, of course, you could guess or whatever. But the weight loss thing, she asked if he had been intubated.
Yep. Yeah, and he had been.
Yep.
She said something about probably our mother sort of like really like guarding his dignity at the time. And that like there was like an injury that was a real vulnerability and kind of he was embarrassed about
I think
it.
I know about that.
I know about it too.
Yeah.
But she like protected him through it to like make sure that he still had his dignity. Yeah. Which is
and that they
something
were
that actually happened.
Yeah, totally. And that they were real partners, which again, I know that sounds vague and just nice and whatever, but like she was talking about it in conjunction with our mom kind of protecting his dignity in that way.
Yeah.
In almost like she didn't say this, but almost like a teammatey kind of way. Like, I got you, whatever. So I don't know. In that context, it felt more specific.
I did like it.
Yeah.
The one big thing, it's big or small depending on how you look at it.
Yeah.
But like, along with the thing that she said about it happening all of a sudden, even though it took a long time, was that her energy that she got from him was like, I never thought this would happen to me.
Yes.
I never thought that this could happen to me.
Yes.
And our dad used to constantly put off seeking healthcare for stuff.
Yes.
Put off like therapy, whatever. And it would always come back to him going like, I thought it was Superman. I thought it was,
he always said that.
None of this stuff ever used to happen to me. I used to, like, he had a really hard time coping with the fact that he was like an 81-year-old man.
Yeah.
And so he would really be like, yeah, when I was young, like I could do anything, like nothing would happen.
Right, would be
to
like,
me.
But you're not. Yeah.
Yeah, so you got to roll with the punches, man.
Right.
And get with the times.
Yeah.
But for her to say that, like,
I know
this energy was like, I just didn't think this would happen.
She was like, he didn't think he was going to die.
Yeah.
He was kind of surprised.
It's like, I'll get through this.
Yeah, right. And that definitely was a thing.
Which is also like, hey, spirit of Richard Rogers out there.
Yeah.
You still got to get with the times, dude.
Yeah.
You died.
I don't know why you're surprised by this. It happens
It happened. I know you think you're Superman.
I feel like you're going to be talking to him saying this. So
yeah,
it makes it feel even more real. Like,
yes.
It happened.
It
I don't
happened.
know what you're talking about.
You
why
dig
are
that?
you still like this or whatever?
1,000%.
She also asked if he had a sister, which he did,
Yes. Yeah.
and said she was seeing our mom and the sister very together.
Yes, I love that.
Which is a thing. They have lunch like every few weeks or something like that.
I love that.
So
They're
that
very
felt
close.
kind of right.
Yeah.
It was nice.
It was nice. It was so surprising. Like, listen to the way that we are telling the story about our personal experience.
Right.
And then, if you're a skeptic like me, discount the things of us that are emotionally connected.
Yeah, right.
And pay attention to the things that we're saying that were spot on.
Yeah.
A sudden illness that also took a long time to happen. Saying that you feel like this would never have happened to you. Not wanting to take up everyone's time with this. Wishing that you could still be around while everyone's talking and everything.
Listening, specifically.
Specifically
you could just
listening.
Listen.
Calling me Bill. Like, I'm not saying that these things are concrete evidence.
But there's something.
But they were really, they felt, I was like pretty blown away.
Yeah.
They felt like really sort of like special.
They did. And they felt, I think it's objectively kind of specific. I'm sure you could poke holes, but like, I don't know. Some of that stuff is like.
And of course you could poke holes.
Yeah.
All of this is poke hole-able.
Of course.
And like, ultimately, like, we went there tonight.
Yeah.
With the mindset of just like, well, we'll see what we get.
Totally.
One way or another, who the hell knows? Sure, I was hoping for something rad to happen.
Yeah.
But I really didn't expect anything on that level. Like, there were a few things in there that felt, whether they're true or not, they felt meaningful.
Yeah.
And isn't that the same
Yeah, I know. We say that all the time.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's the end result is the same. So how you got there. And I have to say, I think that, I can't speak for them, obviously, but I have a feeling that a lot of people at the table, not everybody, but like, I don't think anybody came away from it, I would guess, feeling, I don't think everybody would feel worse.
No, I don't think so
You know what
either.
I mean? Like, I don't think that there was anything, I don't know. I found it kind of, I know obviously it's colored by my own experience and our own kind of like reading and come through. It felt like kind of like a positive, affirming
I agree.
sort of vibe.
I agree. It's interesting. There are a lot of people.
The guy next to me was talking about how it like really like solidified some things for him and kind of like validated some feelings that he had about something. Like,
Yeah.
I think people had some like nice experiences.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it would be hard for me to really understand why somebody who's a hardline skeptic, somebody who's there to like really just sort of be like, no,
Yeah.
why you'd even end up at the table, why you'd buy the ticket.
I
what are you doing?
think sometimes not everybody, but I think some skeptics want to be disproven.
Maybe.
When you're that, talking about like a hardline skeptic like that, when you're that passionate about something, it's like a little unstable to me, that stance.
I guess, but like
Not always, but like it's a little, I don't know.
I really
Like
believe
overcompensating maybe or
the
something.
globe is round.
Yeah. But like, are you going to like flat earth conferences and being like, listen guys, blah, blah,
Right.
blah.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's a little strange. It's a little not grounded, that
It's
kind
a
of
little
energy.
not grounded.
You know?
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
No, well, ultimately, I'm left personally with the feeling of what does this mean for me?
Yeah, I get
am
that.
I walking away
I get
as a
that.
believer,
Mm-hmm.
or am I walking away as the same old skeptic who would like to believe?
Yeah.
And I think I'm still walking away as the skeptic who would like to believe.
Yeah.
There are things in there that the real problem is that, like, as profound as some of that information was,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't work the same way as proof.
Right. It's funny. It still feels surreal and not in the way that I'm like,
Yeah.
it's so rocking my mind. Like, I know that happened and everything, but it's still
It hits my head as that was cool.
yeah.
That was cool and really like fun, and like it matched up to some of what I want to believe.
I think it really matched up very well to a lot of our experience.
Yeah.
And a lot of Dad's experience.
That's true.
Like
That's true.
but the funny thing is I can say that and say like it seems semi-proofy, but that still even to me doesn't really land. It still doesn't really feel proofy.
I know.
It's just I don't know. I
Like,
don't
do
know.
we
You can't
believe
know.
it's funny? Like,
Yeah.
surreal is the right thing. Because, like, do we really believe that our father, who has been dead now for 3+ years,
Yeah.
do we think that we made contact with him tonight?
I guess I do, but at the same time, I'm saying I guess. It seems that way, but it's still I can't fully integrate it.
Right. I have a lot of dreams about him.
Yeah.
I'll just have dreams that, like, he all of a sudden just shows up at the house. I'm like, what the hell are you doing here?
Yeah.
But, like, in the dream, I'm not like, you died. In the dream, I'm
Right.
like, I just don't understand why you're here. How are you here? Like, in the dream, I'm having a hard time
Yeah.
confronting the idea that he's around. And then we go do whatever the hell we were going to do. A lot of the times it's mundane.
Yeah.
And in those dreams, the feeling I get is really like being around Dad.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of got that feeling from this.
Yeah.
So it's almost pinging like a dreamlike
Dreamlike,
state
yeah.
for me. But I don't know that I connect that as being like, yeah, I actually spoke to Dad.
Right.
If I did,
Mm-hmm.
hey man, that was cool.
Yeah, totally.
And like, yeah, thank you for putting on a little show.
Yeah.
Even when you felt like you didn't want to gobble up everyone's time.
Yeah.
Go chill.
Mm-hmm.
And if it didn't really happen, boy, that was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
really
that's a
enjoyed
good
myself. Yeah, and I'm comfortable with either. Honestly,
Yeah.
I can't get an answer either way.
No. So
So I'm gonna walk
good
away.
thing you're comfortable with either, you know?
Yeah, I'm
Maybe,
gonna walk
that's hard
away.
for some people. I don't know.
I'm a celebratory skeptic.
Hey,
You
I
know
like
what?
that.
I really enjoy it all. I really have a hard time actually
like
saying that
that.
I believe it.
Yeah, sure.
But man, was that fun.
yeah,
That was really, really fun.
that's great. Well, you know what? I think probably let's leave it there.
Let's leave it there.
That's really nice.
Yeah, everybody.
Well, thanks for doing that with me, Will. That was a
Thank
nice
you for doing that with me. That was a great idea, Chrissy.
Yeah.
Real personal show, gang.
Yeah, my God.
Do you feel like you learned a lot about us now?
Yeah, I really do. Well, whatever. I feel a little embarrassed, but
Do
whatever.
you feel embarrassed?
Like a little bit. You know,
Why? Why should you?
I don't know. Just a little bit. I'm
guess,
talking about casting circles with my mind and stuff.
I talk about wizards whispering to me.
And, inviting.
Hey, write a show about Hannibal Lecter. Don't pass it on. And then they walk over to Brian Fuller and tell him the same thing. Ass. Horse's ass.
Did a beautiful job.
He did. It's a hell of a show. It's better than what I was planning to do.
They were just different.
Yeah. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us.
Yeah.
We hope that you had a good time. We hope you had a real weird time.
Yeah.
I feel very confident that you had a weirder time than usual.
Yeah, I would think.
If you enjoy Guide to the Unknown, once again, I really urge you to go follow at GTTUpod on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We post a lot of stuff about updates on things that we're doing, cool stuff for you to check out, and you can get a whole bunch more of us.
Yeah.
Also, go check out facebook.com/groups/GTTUpod so you can chat with other like-minded people about the show or about really anything else.
Yeah.
In the
Anything
world.
in the realm of things that are unusual or spooky.
Share your own discoveries in there.
Yeah, by all means.
You can hit up our brand new merch store by going to tpublic.com/user/GTTUpod so you can get a shirt, you can get a pin, you can get a mug.
Yeah.
Drink out of Guide to the Unknown. Drink full and descend.
Nice.
And as always, if you go to patreon.com/GTTUpod and you back us on the Netherworld Warrior level starting at $4 a month, you're going to get access to a bunch of additional material from us. Extra shows that are only for our supporters on Patreon. We've done EVPs where we're listening and trying to decode. Kristen and I have sat down with a Ouija board before and tried to contact the dead a different time in our lives. We've talked about movies. We even just upload stuff over there just when it happens to come to mind.
Totally.
You get a sort of inside peek at future developments over there. So definitely hit up patreon.com/GTTUpod if you enjoy what you're hearing, but you need more. Yeah. You can also give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or just spread the word to your friends. We really rely on all of you out there to help boost our profile, let other people know that this is a show that they might enjoy, and good reviews from you really make the case, and we love reading them, so please consider doing that. Beyond that, if you'd like, you can talk to Kristen or myself online.
That's right. You can follow me at ChillinKristen on Instagram and Twitter.
And I
Oh, boy.
am the Myth Traveler. So thank you all so much for hanging out with us on a little excursion outside of the basement to the spooky world of the beyond. We'll be back next week for more tantalizing tales, but until that time comes, we must meep travel.
Fire her up. Back to the Netherworld. Go wait.
Do you still feel embarrassed? I feel like we should be empowered.
Yeah. Like, not really, but just like, I really,
There's some vulnerable things in there.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. We've never done a seance before.
Yeah, totally.
And like, people told us things that are personal to us.
Yeah.
At the seance.
Yeah.
If we're talking about the seance, we're sharing personal stuff.
I know. We're being honest.
Like an exposed nerve.
Yeah.
But maybe we'll be more
that doesn't
fortified.
sound good.
Well, but you do it for a little bit, but then you grow scar tissue.
I don't know. Did that guy from 127 Minutes grow scar tissue from his exposed nerve? I don't know.
Well, he must have, right?
127 hours, right? Yeah, 127 minutes wouldn't be that bad.
That's 2 hours and 7 minutes.
That's not so bad.
I could sit in a hole for 2 hours.
Oh, easy. Easy.